Hey guys, what's going on? A lot's been coming out of the developer accounts that both Momo Royale and A-Friend Gaming have. A-Friend Gaming actually had if you haven't checked them out, go to their channel right now and you'll see everything that they decided to upload. And Momo Royale, he's done a bunch of videos using Genie. Not so much Clown, but I'm going to go into Clown and I'll tell you why he wasn't using Clown. But he also showed that the Cold Mage is also getting changed as well, which is also something that I want to get into that A-Friend Gaming did, but then deleted his, he was doing a live. And I have a bunch of screenshots. They're all from his live. They're pretty bad quality because I basically had to screenshot them and then zoom in and then, yeah, it's zoom in enhance, and zoom in enhance doesn't work, the way that you would think in, that movies and TV shows tell you. It's the same amount of pixels and you're just zoomed in and it's still terrible quality. So this isn't going to be the best quality, but this is all just a talking video. You don't need to be looking at your screen or anything, but this update is probably the biggest update since they dropped a bunch of units with talents when talents were first introduced. This is shaping up to be a much larger update than we previously thought. And in the idea that most people care about legendary new units and talents, and the idea that it only has 2 new units, with quote unquote no units getting talents. I say quote unquote, I'll explain that later. Usually that being the focus. I think that there are much more interesting things that they said that they're going to help new players with, and I think that there are interesting things to talk about. And so a lot has been coming out, so there's a lot in this video, and I'm not going to go into all of it too in depth, but I do want to touch upon a couple of things that I noticed. So first off, this is Clown, and essentially what it is it's a bad Harley Quinn. That's literally what it is. The reasoning for my title, that Clown is essentially a Wind Archer. Essentially, when you have Wind Archer really early on in the game, it's good because it's better than an Archer. But as soon as you get Boreas, right? Because that's one of your first, your first legendary is probably Frost. Your second legendary is probably Boreas, which is why most people at a very early stage in the game think that Boreas is like the most broken thing ever and it's so great. And it is because it's better than the previous thing that you thought was great, which is a Wind Archer. Wind Archer is fine where it is. Like, it does damage, it doesn't do great damage, and as soon as you get Boreas is strictly a better unit, and you never use Wind Archer ever again. That's basically how that works. You can upgrade Wind Archer, but it doesn't have talents, so it's not going to get any better, as of right now. Boreas, when you upgrade it, it has more damage than a Wind Archer, and it has talents, which makes it much better than a Wind Archer. And so at that point, it's not that Wind Archer doesn't have a place at all, because you can't really just go from Archer to Boreas, right? There's usually like that middle ground place. That is essentially what Clown is. There has to be something bad for there to be something good. And so a lot of people, I feel like, I remember when A-Friend Gaming was using this, on stream, and he thought it was just the most useless thing ever. And I'm going to go into reasons for why. But at the same time, if you don't have a Harley Quinn, you're going to use this card. And not everybody, very early on in the game, not everybody has Harley Quinn. And I feel like if you get a Clown, you're going to use Clown. So the way that it works is essentially, it's just a bad Harley Quinn. There's no getting around that. You copy a unit or you have I want to say at max, you have a 60% chance to copy a unit. It works most of the time. And you can copy a unit of the same merge rank So, ones can copy ones, twos can copy twos, right? So it's exactly like Harlequin in that. But, as I just previously stated, you have a percentage chance to fail. And so sometimes it will fail and it will lose a merge rank. So if you have a level 1 clown and you try to merge, or you try to copy a level 1 something, right? If it fails, it disappears and you obtain mana. You get, I want to say, it was like 30 mana. It's not a significant amount. And so some people were thinking, oh, this is just infinite stacks on a bruiser, right? Because when a thing is merged next to a bruiser, if you try to use a clown next to a unit that's on next to a bruiser and it fails, you would get a merge. You would get there would be a you tried to merge a thing, but the merge fails. Bruiser Knight Statue with the Covenant of Veteran, it only works if the merge succeeds. And if the merge fails, then it doesn't get a thing. And so essentially, what happens is it also gets a damage reduction. So as you can see, this is at level 5. Your damage reduction on that new unit is minus 50%. That obviously gets lessened as it obtains, like when it gets to 15. But it does have a damage reduction in the same way that a Harlequin does. And if you, let's say you have a level 2 clown and you merge it onto something, and it fails, it goes back down to a level 1 and you still get the mana. So you always get mana if it fails, but it will merge down a rank if it fails. And so, again, if you have Harlequin, you're never going to use this card. In the same way that I'm basically talking to you, a person that probably has a Boreas, and I'm trying to talk to you about Wind Archer and how it's kind of okay, and it's not okay. It's not great. Added to that fact, they also decided to say, if in the Harlequin deck, the clown's copying attempts always fail. So if you have Harlequin and clown in the same deck, you can't use clown. It's just you're summoning in a card to get rid of a card, and it's doing literal nothing for you. You would literally, you should put literally anything else in the deck. And I can already hear you saying, but it's like scrapper fodder. You can use it to like scrapper things, right? You can do that with Priestess. That doesn't make Priestess good. Like, you can do that with literally any other unit that also gives you a benefit. There is no benefit to putting Harlequin and Clown in the same deck because the Clown will literally basically just do nothing. You'll just keep merging onto things and it'll keep failing. At which point you can I think you can combine Clowns, and then they will become something else in the same way that any other unit happens. But if you try to copy something, and you have Harlequin in your deck, it'll automatically just disappear and fail, or merge down a rank and you get mana. But you're not getting enough mana to make up for the cost to summon in a Clown. So basically what it's trying to say is use this card if you don't have Harlequin, and as soon as you do get Harlequin, use Harlequin. Because it's not a legendary, it had to be worse. So that's the whole mechanic of it merges down a rank. It also doesn't have talents. So when you get this in the game, as of right now, it has no talents either. So presumably it'll obtain talents. They are trying to say that, if you have a Portal Keeper, if you have a way to get rid of the Clown debuff in the same way that if you get rid of the Harlequin debuff, the damage reduction that it's getting will go away, obviously. And so you can utilize it like that in the same way that you could utilize a Harlequin. But the game is actively forcing you to either play Clown or Harlequin. You can't play both. Playing both, I feel like if they both were essentially Harlequins, and you could, if it had the same mechanic, but you could just play them both in the same deck, and Clown worked in the same deck as a Harlequin, it would be too good. And I say it would be too good because you could get so many usages out of all of your merge cards. Like your robot deck would just go insane. Your robot deck would go insane. Like, Dryading would be insane if you got like Harlequin, Dryad, and Clown, and then you just like super merged up all of your cards like very, very quickly. Even if Clown fails and you and it goes down a rank or it disappears, you're still getting mana back, which is still fine because then you have mana in the early game to just use it again. And even getting mana and even getting some amount of mana back would just be good anyway, early game. And it would be too good. But yeah, so essentially Clown is not, Clown is for new players, and there's a lot of things that they're doing within this patch that are specifically targeted for new players. But as an advanced player, you don't have to play this card. You're never going to play this card. It's giving you crit percentage as you level it up, but essentially, if you have Boreas, you're not going to use Wind Archer. Genie is obviously the legendary card of the set, and essentially it kind of works. A lot of people have been comparing it to Monk, and I can see the comparison. The Genie creates a vortex that follows the first target. If you watch a couple of Momo Real's videos, essentially it pushes the units back, and that does fall off as you're not able to like maintain the wave. It doesn't constantly push them back to the opening gate, but when you're killing things very rapidly, it does look as if though it completely just shuts them in, and it looks really powerful, but that's also because you're killing them instantly as well. So it does have a little bit of a pushback effect, but just know that is not like a complete and utter, I will never die kind of deal. Like, once you start getting overwhelmed by units, the vortex doesn't work. It doesn't look as if though it's working as well. It appears and forms a line of 3 genies. It gets a buff charge, increasing the damage of genies and temporarily activating them. The genie's mana power-up causes the Magic Fist to perform a series of critical hits on the first monster and the area surrounding it. So, Genie has an activation, which is fun. It doesn't have a mana power-up because your mana power-up and how it gets more powerful is hitting those rows of 3. So it's kind of like a Monk, but you have to keep summoning in, essentially. Because whereas Monk, you can just leave on the field and then just forget about your field, right? And just use activation. This, because it has an activation, you don't have a way to mana power up your cards, your genies that are currently on the field. And the only way they're getting a damage boost, very similar to like a Sea Dog, the only way that they're getting a damage boost is if you're summoning in, and that summon in is making a row of 3. So it's not just a summon in, but you have to have like 2 other genies that are in that row in order for you to get a charge, at which point they all activate, at which point they all get the vortex effect, and that is how they're dealing damage. The activation on the mana power-up ability is basically a giant fist. It hits the field like a bunch of times, it does critical damage, and then it does area damage. It's pretty strong. It's kind of like having another hero. Monk is probably better in that regard. Giving all of your things the attack speed and the crit damage is much better. I think that Monk is better, but I think that this is a very interesting card. Magic Knockout, which is the last ability, I did all of these like very randomly. My screenshots and how it saved into my phone. The Magic Knockout is the level 15 ability. When you get the level 15 ability, you get to use the mana power up twice. So the fist. And then before their cooldown is triggered. So after you, so normally you can only use it once and then there's a cooldown and you can use it again. And at 15, you can use it twice and then there's a cooldown, which is incredibly helpful for like double bosses, triple bosses, because you can either use it on a problematic boss twice or use it on separate bosses. After acquiring 100 charges, Magic Fist will deal additional damage equal to 5% of the target's critical health. At 200 charges, the genie's critical attack chance increases by 5%. From what I've seen, 100 charges and 200 charges is actually not as impossible as you might think, because these are all summon-ins, and they're not merges. So the difference between like 80 merges on a robot is that's 160 summon-ins at minimum. This is whenever a genie lands on a spot and there are two other genies next to it. Or there are two other genies already on the field, essentially. And it's much easier to summon in 100 things or 200 things as a game progresses. Because there's a lot to talk about, I'm going to speed through all of these talents. I think I got all of them. This is Ifrit's Fire. You can like screenshot all of these or pause this to check it. Spiritual Cleansing I think is better than Lamp Prison. Using a mana power up cleanses 3 genies from negative effects. I think that if this works, where it targets the things that have negative effects to begin with, because if it's 3 just random genies and like they pick, 2 that are already fine and 1 that's not, and then that triggers at a 50% rate. Well, they each trigger at a 50% rate. But that triggers and it doesn't even cleanse that genie, and it targeted 2 other genies that don't have a debuff. If that is the mechanic, then it's terrible. And use the other one. If it's not, and it automatically targets things that have debuffs, then I think it's very good. Use this one so that you don't have to run Mermaid and use Gadget instead, or use Zeus. I think that is the better mechanic than Lamp Prison. Ethereal Boost, Reckless Wish, I have no thoughts on. It's just more damage. And that one's more damage. So either your Vortex and your Magic Fist is increased, or your base damage. I think base damage is probably better, because that's essentially what's gonna be the constant in any given game, as opposed to an activated ability. The reason why the Monk deck fails is because your base damage starts to fall off. It's not that when you activate, you can't kill things. It's that when you don't have it, you don't have enough base damage, and that's usually why you die. So I think that Reckless Wish is probably the better one. I guess I didn't get... Oh, no, I think I got it after... Yeah. So this is Magical Sultanate. It's the opposite to Ifrit's Fire. I think it's the safer of the two. Ifrit's Fire, because something has the ability to completely explode and just... you lose a unit. That seems like a really bad... I don't know. Like, part of me wants to say that that's a really bad effect, because if you're leveling something up and your unit just explodes, that's pretty bad. But at the same time, the genie, what you're trying to do is you're always trying to summon in, because you're trying to summon in to get those charges, to get the better damage, to activate the vortexes. So I don't know. But I think Magical Sultanate is the easier of the two. And I think that Ifrit's Fire has like the high risk, high reward kind of deal. And then Lamp Prison, which is the last talent. So I already spoiled this, but this was another thing that they're going to change theoretically. Now, I say theoretically because there were the developer build, they had patch notes as well, and I don't have all the patch notes, but there's a lot. And this is why I say that this is probably going to be one of the biggest updates. It's not just the legendary It's not just the genie and the clown and all of the other random changes that you probably don't care about, but I think are very interesting. It's also the fact that another change that they're going to make for newer players is they're taking a lot of old cards that most players don't use anymore and changing and updating the mechanics. So originally, Reaper had two useless mechanics, which were the defense against light and defense against dark. They changed that to Deadly Throw and Walking Dead. Deadly Throw and Walking Dead. Death Wish is the level 15. I'll just talk about that one really quick so I can talk about the other two. Death Wish is merging the Reaper increases the attack speed for other Reapers on the field by 25% for 10 seconds. I think that's fine. Giving you a different kind of merge effect is fine. I do want to look up what is the actual talent. No, this always happens. I always have Rush Royale up. I always have Rush Royale playing in the background, but if I am away from it for too long, it just resets itself, and that's what's happening here. I want to see what Reaper was before this change, and I feel like the reason why A-Friend Gaming took down his live stream that he did for the whole thing was because I don't think he was supposed to. He even said it in the live stream, which is ironic. He wasn't sure if he was even supposed to show the patch notes, and he decided to show a couple of the patch notes. Vengeful Ghost was the original thing. Destroys a common monster after merging. This also summons a ghost. This affects two monsters. That number increased based on the unit's merge rank. Before merging, the ghost will not be summoned in co-op and plunder. So that was the original thing. And it was Spirit of Light, Spirit of Darkness. Those were the top two. Everything has been moved up. Slayer of Giants, Maximum Gain, Trophy Skull, and Grim Harvest are still the same. So it's Trophy Skull and Mortal Harvest as opposed to Grim Harvest. I don't know if that one's changed as well. Because the two ones that he was focusing on was Death Wish, Deadly Throw, Death Wish and Deadly Throw, because those are actually completely new. So Deadly Throw, I think, is the worst one. The attack has a 10% chance of causing the scythe to ricochet at a random boss or mini-boss on the path. I don't think that that's good, because even if it hits a boss or a mini-boss, it's not going to insta-kill it. And that was kind of, like, you can run Slayer of Giants, but I've never liked the damage version of Reaper. I don't think you're using Reaper to deal damage. You're using Reaper to insta-kill things, and I'd rather insta-kill things better. Maximum Gain is the one that I would use. Obviously, if you were running the damage version, you would run all left side. You would go Trophy Skull to get the stacks for better damage. You would use Slayer of Giants, where if the effect happens on a boss or mini boss, you get extra damage, and then Deadly Throw is obviously going to give you extra damage to bosses and mini bosses. But I would use all right side, Mortal Harvest, Maximum Gain, and then Walking Dead is essentially what the last talent was before. And it's increased the chance of summoning ghosts by 25% and increased their movement speed by 50%. Merging Reapers activates instant kill of two common monsters. So I'm assuming that because it says increase the chance of summoning ghosts, I'm assuming that they're changing the mechanic to, if you insta-kill things with the ghost, you have a chance of summoning in spirits, which I've always liked. And now with Walking Dead, you have a 25% chance more to summon ghosts. I think overwhelming your opponents with creatures is the most underutilized mechanic in this entire game. I love Reaper for this reason, and Alchemist Golem, and Demonologist, and the not sharpshooter, hunter with the boar ability. I think that kind of mechanic is the most underutilized mechanic in this game. And it's the reason why that mechanic doesn't work is because if they're killing the waves, you can't overwhelm them more because your monsters are basically the same amount of health as the regular monsters. And if they're killing the regular monsters, they're probably going to kill all of your monsters that you're sending them, at which point you're just giving them more mana. And that's why that mechanic doesn't work. I wish it worked better. It feels like a win more kind of situation where if you were already going to win, you're going to win more now. Like if, like when you would send all of these monsters, it's because they're not keeping up with the wave, and now you're sending them even more monsters, and now they're gonna lose even more. They're not just kind of gonna lose; they're really gonna lose, and it just feels like a bad kind of mechanic right now. I wish there was like a like a cauldron type unit that specifically increased the health of like monsters that you send them. If they made this a deck, I think that would be really cool. But all of that being said, this is also a thing that theoretically might be happening. So this was the thing that A-Friend Gaming decided to show us and during his live stream, and he has since taken down his live stream. Maybe because he wasn't supposed to show us. But because I don't have an account with my games, I feel like I can show you. Because, it's there. The information was there. The following balance changes or updates are subject to change. As in, none of this could happen. All of this could happen. Or none of this could happen. So essentially, they're saying that common, rare, and epic units, again, to help newer players, the Ascension level, which was originally at 9, 11, 13, 15, it's now going to be 5, 8, and 11 on common cards. When it was 9, 11, 13, 15 on rare cards, it's now going to be 7, 10, 13, 15. And then epic cards, it's going to be, instead of 9, 11, 13, 15, it's going to be 7, 10, 13, and 15. That is going to help new players out a lot. If they implement this change, I don't think that a lot of the newer cards are that great. But if you have access to them much earlier, I think that that's going to be better for you. If they do implement this change, I wonder how it's going to affect, if at all, Royal Trials or building decks. I wonder if they're going to change the level caps on what you can use and what you can't use, because this obviously changes everything. If you can use any common card at 11 before, and, now it's level 8, you get the Ascension, and at the third Ascension, you get the level 11. That means something at an 11 on a common that you could use before, now you can use triple talents, when you could previously only use maybe 2 talents. I feel like this is going to change deck building if they implement this into games where you have to deck build, but they're giving you specific levels. I don't know. This opens up a lot of things. I don't want to go through all of these things because there's a lot of things. Again, I will leave this on the screen for a second, and then you can screenshot these and go through them. I do think that it's funny that they are upgrading Thrower as opposed to giving Thrower talents. They're just saying when hitting the same unit more than once, the Thrower deals additional damage. That doesn't help it. This is Rogue. They're upgrading Rogue, which I think is cool. By a lot. The first level damage goes from 40 to 70. And then the damage increase per level goes from 14 to 16%. So that's just going to give you extra damage. The mana upgrade goes from 80 to 90. The smoke bomb, it protects neighbor units. with a 50% chance, it'll protect neighbor units, and it will always be 100% on rogues themselves. The Vigor Bomb gets double bonuses if you're doing it with a rogue. I'm so excited to try Shinobi decks. The Giant Spike talent and the Slug Spike talent are also upgraded as well. They're theoretically changing Sharpshooter back from 4 seconds to 6 seconds because what it is currently, they changed it from 6 seconds to 4 seconds on bosses, and now theoretically they're changing it back from 4 to 6. I guess they realized, like nobody uses Sharpshooter anymore, so we're going to just change it back. It's fine. Grindstone is now worse for people who run that. I'm not sure what guard is, and A-Friend Gaming couldn't figure out what guard was either. I think it's funny that they're Lightning Mage, by the way, is Thunderer. If you're going to read that, Lightning Mage is Thunderer. Cold Elemental now deals it attacks the first target as opposed to a random target, which as a mechanic, I'm just like, why wasn't it this all the time? It was terrible before, and now it's just a regular unit. It also releases crystals that all slowed down monsters. The crystal no longer deals area damage or paralyzes the target. Crystal damage bonus for mana boost increased by 20% to 25%. So it's going to be a little bit better. You can watch Momo Royale's video on it, and it's basically it's fine. It's now a regular unit that's terrible, as opposed to just being an unplayable unit that's bad. I like that they felt the need to depower Pyrotechnic, because, all those people that are using those Pyrotechnic decks need to be stopped. Reaper was all of the changes that I mentioned before. Catapult, the attack rate interval with the rank increase is now decreased 20%. So Catapult's going to be a little bit better. You're still not going to use it, but it's going to be a little bit better for new people. And then the login bonus unit is going to be the Clown, but it's an uncommon unit, so it's not something to be, amazed about. How long is this video? 32 minutes? I've done like 40-minute videos. I kind of felt like I was in that realm of 50 minutes already. So in terms of the season pass, this is going to be, so I understand that the two emojis look the same, but just understand that those are both emojis. This is all the paid side. So there's also going to be regular, I believe there is also going to be a regular side of the, what's it called? There's going to be a regular side of the free side. But this is both the epic side and as well as the legendary side. And if you pay for either, this is what you're essentially getting. So if you pay $5, you're going to get a legendary, a gold chest, 1 page, 1 rune key, the emoji, 90 gems, and then the rest of the stuff, the rare token, the rare item. It's fine. If you pay for both, because it's at which point legendary you would be paying for both, you would be getting, this is 2 legendaries over here, and that is added to the 1 legendary that's over here. So you're getting 3 legendaries total. You're getting 5 gold chests, which is essentially 500 minimum dust, which is pretty good. Total, you're getting 3 Page of Secrets. You're getting that you got before. Total, you're getting 3 rune keys. I think that's 1 more than before. I think you only got 2 before. And then you're getting the rest of this stuff. Essentially, I think it's much better. I think the season pass is much better. You are only required to get 75. There are only 75 levels as opposed to 104, which is insane. So you are able to get rewards quicker, much quicker probably. And I think that they are better rewards. I love that they kept the Page of Secrets. That's the thing that everybody was worried about. And they are all upgraded things. I think that 3 legendaries and 500 dust is pretty insane. This isn't even to talk about the regular, right side of the free rewards as well. This is solely what you would be getting if you paid the $12, which is the current price to begin with. And if you do decide to buy them separately, you can also do that. You can spend $5 for the epic side, and maybe mid-month you feel like you obtained a lot of money at your job or something, and then you can spend the extra $7 to buy the legendary side. You don't have to buy them all together, but you can also buy them all together as well. This was an interesting change. All of those rare tokens and epic tokens that you've been hoarding for epic chests and rare chests that you definitely don't use very often, they are now giving you the option to trade them in 1-for-1 on epic heroes and rare heroes. So you can give a rare token and then obtain one, I want to say, random rare hero. If you can pick the hero, my God, this would be insane. But I'm pretty sure you can't pick the hero. I'm pretty sure it'll just give you a random hero. That seems to be their MO. That's probably how they would do it. But if you can pick your hero, I'm getting 39 mermaids. I'm going to straight up, just as soon as this patch drops, I'm getting 39 mermaid shards. But yeah, like, you obtain rare and epic tokens at such an alarming rate in this game that I have 39 epic hero tokens, but I definitely don't have 39 times 800 gems, because that is what it would take for me to use my epic hero tokens. And I definitely don't have that amount of gems, which is why I have so many tokens, which is why they're doing this. And I think that that's a good change. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is this thing. So essentially, it's a one-time offer for people who don't already have a maxed out Dryad or Harley Quinn. For 6 runes, you can get a Dryad or a Harley Quinn. Now, for new players, this is kind of good. It's kind of fine. So as I said before, you will be getting 3 rune keys every single, if you pay the full price for the pass. So in 2 months, you could potentially get a Dryad or a Harley Quinn and have it. Don't do it. I know that might sound harsh. Don't do it. So for like late game players, I'm going to assume that you know not to do this. And for new players, don't do this. It's a trap. 6 rune keys is essentially 6 legendaries. To trade 6 legendaries for 1 legendary, it's not great value. I understand that you're getting, 2 of the most influential cards in this game. There's a big part of me that says, don't do it. Just play the game. Just continue playing the game. I think they're doing this because in 2 months, if you spent $24 on this game to get 2 passes and you still haven't gotten Harley Quinn or Dryad, maybe you would want to quit the game because you don't have 2 of the most influential cards in this game. I still don't think it's good. I feel like you have to over the course of 2 months, you're either going to be a lifer in this game or you're just going to pick up this game for a little bit and quit this game and never play it again. Because this game is a grind. And if the grind for a Harley Quinn or a Dryad over 2 months of getting legendaries is not, like, you feel like you really can't build any deck without Harley Quinn or Dryad, that you need to do this, that you need to sacrifice 6 legendaries, because 6 rune keys are 6 magic crystals. 6 magic crystals are essentially 6 legendaries. If you don't feel like you can play this game without Harlequin or Dryad, and that is your make or break, you're probably going to quit this game anyway, even if you get Harlequin and Dryad. Because even when you get Dryad, then you're going to want Dryad with talents. Because people with Rage of Fairy or Fairy of Growth, they're just going to outclass you anyway. And then you'll still feel bad about this game. You have to understand, like a big thing that you have to understand as a new player is this game rewards patience. And if you have to have everything now, and you want to make decisions like getting rid of 6 legendaries to get 1 legendary, you're not going to make good decisions in this game. I understand why the developers thought that this is a good idea. It's not a good idea. It's not something that you should do. And that's my thoughts. I could probably talk for another 40 minutes about other changes that they're doing in this game. Reducing 2 sandals is a really good one. They're reducing 2 sandals in clan tournament so that you won't have to just constantly be on this game during like events and tournament events and daily events and your 5 co-ops a day. I think that is a really good change. They buffed Inquisitor. I think that's good. The buff to Inquisitor, I believe, is just a base damage. But having better base damage is pretty good. And, you don't have to change anything about it. And it's pretty good. From what I remember hearing from Afrin Gaming, they did nerf Demon Hunter, but they didn't nerf it into the ground. And they did nerf Riding Hood, but it's still going to be good. Which is what I expected. But like, yeah, there's a lot of changes. If they go with some of these changes to commons, epics, and rares, this is gonna be a giant patch with a lot of things to talk about as soon as it drops. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I'll